Hello friends, this is Vishakha Daga coming up with next round of News Simplified. Now it is said, if you want to strengthen the political ties of two countries, focus on their economic ties. And this is what India and US is doing. When they're strengthening their economic ties, also with the return of GSP, that is Generalized System of Preference, which was in news recently for the past 2 years. So we'll discuss this, why this was in news, and overall the India-US ties economic relationship we'll see through the lens of this video. So let's just take this. First, let us discuss what we're going to see in the video. Number one, it is the trade agreement that is being signed in between the two countries. We'll talk about this. Second, we will talk about the generalized system of preference. What is it and how it has originated and why it is significant to India. Then we'll also talk about the significance of the overall agreement that has been signed in between the two countries. So let's just take the topic one by one. Beginning with, in the news, where what has happened is India's Commerce Minister and US Trade Representative, they two have met and they have talked about the strengthening the economic ties between the two countries. Now, as a part of this meeting, they have signed few agreements as well. They have signed few pacts as well. Among those packets, one of the most important pact is that is the post-COVID plan and the plan for the workers. Now here, this agreement is actually called Social Security Totalization Agreement. Now this may sound complicated, but it is as simple as that. What happened? What if I taken an example here? Let me take an example that this is US and this is India. Now, Mr. Rakesh is living in US for past 15 years. And he's been working in US for past 15 years and is contributing to the Provident Fund account. In past 15 years, he has accumulated near $10,000 or more than that. It should be more than that actually. So Rakesh has been living in US for the past 15 years and accumulated $10,000. Now what if he decide to go back to India? Now he want to live in his motherland and he has decided to serve in there. Now once he decide to serve in there, he'll be working in India for the rest of his life. Maybe he has planned for next 20 years or whatever that amount is. Now, when he'll be working in India, he will again open an PF account and start contributing in there. Now this portability is not available in the inter-country agreement. Because in India, if that happens, that Rakesh was first working in Reliance and then he later on shift to TCS, the transfer was possible. Or what he needed was only a Provident Fund account number. Only an account was number which must be assigned to Rakesh when he must have joined the Reliance. This Provident account number, he would again give to the TCS and the money will be transferred from the Reliance account to the TCS account. It was as easy as like this in case of India. So in one single country, the transfer is as simple. However, when the similar kind of transfer is taking place in between the two countries from US to India, if Rakesh now wants to work in India, he may not be getting the money back. This $10,000 he may have to lose because generally this amount comes at the end of the retirement. So he may have to wait for that long and he will not be getting, and this amount may lapse as well because for next 20, 50 years, he will not be paying this amount because he must have opened the new account in the India itself. So the account may lapse as well, and this was resulting in losing of the thousands of dollars for the Indians. So in order to resolve that issue, this losing of the money, a social security totalization agreement is being signed in between the two countries, India and US, after which the social security contribution, whatever a person have made in one country, will be transferred to another country the moment that person transferred to other countries, because of which the migration will be quite easy. So this is the first agreement. The second agreement is in the pharmaceutical sector, where both countries have allowed that they will secure the pharmaceutical bases of each other country. That means the export and import of the pharmaceutical products from one country to another will be quite easy. Third most important aspect of the agreement is in agriculture sector. In the agriculture sector, two countries have talked about market access. Here, the two countries are talking about market access. Market access, by definition, is nothing but reducing the tariff and non-tariff barrier in between the two countries. Like, I'm again taking the example of here, it is your India A, and this is your second country, US, whom we are taking B. Now, if A is exporting products to B, example, Alfonso mango, now it would want the tariff should be less, minimum as possible, per se 5%. And non-tariff barrier should not be there. Like the phytosanitary measure, if US complains, you have used pesticide or you have used this, even if the constructive evidence is not available in there, now this will be considered as a kind of a non-tariff barrier. If someone impose a quota like beyond 15%, you cannot import this. This is also a non-tariff barrier. So reducing those tariff and non-tariff barrier is called market access. So India and US have signed agreement for the market access for few products. Per se, US have granted market access, greater market access to Indian products like mangoes, grapes, and pomegranate, which are basically fruits actually. Whereas India have allowed access to few of the US products, which include cherries, pork products, and alfalfa hay, which is a kind of a grass and used in various medicines, etc. So this is how the two countries have allowed the agriculture products of each country to be imported. So we talked about how the migration of people is going to be easy, how in pharmaceutical sector two countries are going to collaborate, and how in agriculture sector the market access will be provided. Now the next aspect of video, which is most important, is the generalized system of preference. In the generalized system of preference, now what is going to happen is that the US have decided that it will grant GSP to India again. So GSP is granted by India, will be granted by India by the US to India again. This was withdrawn in 2018. In 2018, US withdrew GSP from India, and because of which India has loss of nearly $5.4 billion. Now, what is GSP? Before you understand GSP, you need to understand the concept of most favored nation treatment, which is given by WTO. Right? WTO promote the non-discriminatory trade between the country. That means if the two countries are trading among each other, there should not be any discrimination. Now, in order to promote that, it has come up with a principle that is most favored nation. That is, if it is India, we have taken an example of A, and Nepal is importing to India, and India is actually giving it applying a duty of 5% to Nepal. This is actually simple trade happening in here. What if Bangladesh now decide to import the same product to India? So Nepal was exporting shoes in here. Now same type of shoes is exported by Bangladesh as well. But India decided to import a duty of 10% on the Bangladeshi shoes. Now Bangladesh can complain against India by saying this goes against the principle of most favored nation treatment. That is, if any country is being exported from another country to the destination country, then the destination country should not discriminate in between the two countries. It should impose similar kind of tariff and non-tariff barrier on both the countries. There should not be discriminating while importing, right? This is called most favored nation treatment. That is, while importing, a country shall not be discriminated. If they are being discriminated, they can go and file a complaint in WTO. However, there is an exception to this MFN status, and these exceptions are a free trade agreement and the significant exception to the LDCs. Least developing countries can be given some exception for their development. Now, it is the LDC part because of which the GSP comes into picture. GSP is actually this only. GSP is a kind of preferential access to one's market, preferential access to another country, to their market actually. So let me explain you by this actually. Let me take an example. Here, let's say the importing country here is US. Now US is actually allowing the other country to import to US. Now here we take an example. There it is Switzerland, and there is an example of Nepal. Now both are exporting shoes in here. Per se, US decided to apply a duty of 10% on the shoes that are being exported by Switzerland. Right now, but on Nepal, US decided to apply a duty of only 5%. Now this will be allowed Because Switzerland is a developed country. It does not need any kind of exceptional treatment or positive discrimination. But Nepal is a developing country, least developed nations, if we can call it. It is one of the poor nations. So a kind of a positive discrimination is allowed to the Nepal. So it is like a reservation in India. GSP is like a reservation. It's like a subsidy. But it's actually a tax subsidy. So a tax subsidy is being given to Nepal. So GSP, you can say it is a tax subsidy given to the poorer nation. This is the most simple definition of GSP. So it is an exceptional treatment or preferential treatment in tax given to another country, and the country should be from one of the developing countries. So a tax concession given to a country who's actually a developing country. This GSP is actually given by 13 developed countries. Those 13 developing countries include Switzerland, Belarus, Iceland, US, Canada, New Zealand, Australia. So these are few 13 countries which actually provide the GSP to other nations, and this is being applied by the US since 1976. US has been provided GSP to developing countries since 1976, and in this, India and Brazil are one of the prime beneficiaries. 94 commodities from India have benefited from India alone. India and Brazil are the prime beneficiaries of it. So when Donald Trump, who was then president of the US, decided to withdraw GSP from India, we had a loss of $5.4 billion. And when in this meeting, when the US is actually thinking of reviving the GSP, it is a good news for India, because then export from India to US will increase only. So this is a good news. Now let's move ahead. Understanding that what are the agreements signed in between US and India. The number one is for the worker, other one is for the pharmaceutical industry, third one is for the agriculture sector, and the fourth one is generalized system of preference, that is GSP, that is being signed in between the two countries. Once we have done that, this is going to strengthen the economic ties in between the two countries. However, there are challenges to it. Two countries are trying to strengthen their actually economic ties, but the ties is actually living below the potential. And one of the biggest reason is there is a tariff war in between US and India. You will not call it exactly a war. It's not like a US and China situation, but the two countries are not on the same terms while imposing tariff. It is like this, that US actually blame India for having an unpredictably regulatory shift, unpredictable tariff regime. That means India randomly decide to increase the tariff and randomly decide to reduce the tariff. Because of which it is said that Harley Davidson and Ford were having business in India, but an unprecedented rise of the tax from India to these two companies, considering them as a luxury good, led them to actually leave India as a manufacturing base. So the US complains regarding India a lot. Next is, also India also have actually complained. It's not only US that can file a complaint that actually says India is actually not fulfilling its commitment. India is also saying that US is also not fulfilling the commitment that is required by India. That include intellectual property right. India want relatively easy IPR regime. We do not want strict regulation, because of course we are the producer of the generic medicine. We actually dominate the world in that matter. So the lesser stricter the IPR regime is, the better it is for India. However, US actually regulate the patent of the country. One of the largest patent are filed in the US itself. That's why US wants stricter IPR regime, and India want the IPR waiver. So these are some issues where the two countries are not on the same line. However, this agreement actually is leaving a hope for the two countries to set aside the differences and come together on the mutual ground. Like per se, GSP. With the signing of GSP, there is a possibility that the two countries can move towards a free trade agreement, because two countries have been anticipating an FTA for a long time and yet have not been able to sign it. And this may also be key to the US as well, because India will strengthen the supply chain of the global world or the global trade. India will strengthen the supply chain of the global trade, and which is more important in event when in case when China is actually, after COVID, many countries realize that they need to diversify their raw material sources or the manufacturing bases, then India can be an option for these countries, including US. So they can diversify their sources from the China. Now, in order to do that, in order to make economic ties strengthen, stronger, it is very important that two countries should sign FTA. Now, to do that as well, the two countries need to come on the common ground. To do so, they need to be a less protectionist in the attitude, be more predictable in the trade regime. India can work on this. It can actually decide at least 6 months ahead or 1 year ahead that what will be its trade policy for the next 1 year, which will bring a predictability in its tax regime, which will be good for India itself. Also, US can be compromising on its principle when it is dealing with India. It can have the access to huge market. So especially in IPR, US can think about having less stricter IPR regime. So this was for all. I hope this video was very informative to you. If that is the case, you're supposed to like and subscribe the video. If not, then put your doubt in the comment section. Thank you so much.
Current Affairs by Forum IAS is an all-in-one program that covers the dynamic aspect of the syllabus from both prelims and mains perspective. Last year, we have helped more than 100 students crack IAS with our current affairs classes.